YouTube, how we doing? It's your boy James with Make an Opening, and we are back with some Set 3 Star Wars Unlimited goodness. I just recently went to the first constructed locals of Star Wars Unlimited Set 3, bringing in a spicy list of Count Dooku Blue. Took it down in a flawless manner, 4-0. It was a 9-player turnout. Not the biggest, not the smallest, but what we're going to do today is sort of take a look at the deck, talk about the different play lines, talk about the event itself in all 4 rounds, how they went, go over some of my favorite cards and least favorite cards, and then what the deck looked like going into the event and what it's going to look like for the future, because I have made some changes. So strap in, let's get it. All right, so let me take you guys over to the deck list. Follow me. And here we are, Dooku Exploits by Neebles. I'm going to update my actual my name on SwooTV to actually be Make an Opening. Neebles is my name, like with everything else, like gaming wise. It has been for years at this point, but this is the list at the skinny and thick of it. We're gonna dive into it. Obviously, we have our leader and base. We got Count Dooku. We're going blue. Whatever blue base you want. Definitely no need in playing any of the rare blue bases in this list. I don't personally see it fit to do so, but if you want, by all means, go for it. Whatever standard blue base you have a pretty hyperspace of is preferred. And let's head over to our turn 1 place. So turn 1, we can do one of 4 things. So we have Wartime Trade Official and Droid Deployment. Those are going to be our ground arena. And then Confederate Courier and Patrolling V-Wing, those are going to be our space arena plays that we're going to be playing out on turn 1. Now with this deck, it is pretty important to have the initiative because you want to play out your turn 1 card and then take initiative. That way your first action of the next turn, you can exploit out your turn 2 play, which 9 times out of 10 is a 5-cost unit, which we'll go over in a second. If you don't have initiative, then it's important to defer between space and ground, because if you don't have the initiative, you want to play in the arena opposite of your opponent. That way for their first action on turn 2, they don't take out your unit and leave you without a unit to exploit. Now, obviously, 2 of these cards, or actually a lot of these cards, get around that. So Wartime Trade Official and Confederate Courier, those are units with a when defeated, create a battle droid token. So even if on their first action they can remove your unit, you are still left with the token to use to exploit out your turn 2 play. Droid Deployment, it actually gets you 2 battle droid tokens. So unless they can take out both on the opening play of turn 2 with something like Bloodsport maybe, but are they going to Bloodsport 2 1/1 battle droids? I don't know. And then Patrolling V-Wing, that's just a good when played draw card. There's probably better options there, but this is what we have for our turn 1. It's always good to have at least one of these in your opening hand, maybe one of each ground and space. It's not really anything you should hard mulligan for or anything, especially if you have initiative. Just get at least one in your hand. But yeah, turn 1 plays very nice, very spicy. Now I'm actually going to be skipping over some of these cards, and I'm going to go straight to our 5 drops here, because the 5 drops are going to be our turn 2 play 9 times out of 10. What we want to do with Dooku is first action of turn 2, use his ability to play a Separatist card from our hand with exploit 1. So we sack a unit to make a 5-cost unit cost 3. Basically what we have here is a Devastating Gunship, Kraken, B2 Legionnaires, and Patrolling AAT. Now from left to right, Devastating Gunship is probably my favorite and one of the most versatile in the list. Devastating Gunship is extremely important when you're playing against yellow, for the sole purpose that most turn 1 plays don't have or don't have more than 2 HP. So whenever you play out Devastating Gunship, you can take out their turn 1 play, and then if they're playing yellow, you can usually assume that they're going to play. Now there are 2 of them. It's a very popping card right now. Very hard to deal with, especially in this list, at least in my current iteration of it, but going forward, it might be a little bit more manageable for me. But Devastating Gunship is really great, especially if they are, because the majority of the deck, until you get to your later game with Invisible Hand and Malevolence, the majority of your deck is going to be on the ground. So if they're playing an early game space unit, or if they're going to be like a space race deck, Devastating Gunship defeats the majority of space units that they're going to be playing on turn 1 to set them back a turn and give you some room to breathe. Now, Kraken, it's a really good token generator. The on attack comes into play sometimes, but not a whole lot. Not as much as you would expect it to come into play, at least from my testing. I haven't done a whole lot of testing. I've gone 4-0 at weeklies. I've played some games on Tabletop Simulator with the deck. Obviously can't do Carabas right now because they're not updated to set 3. But I've played some in Kraken. The on attack just doesn't come into play, as much as you'd think. But you exploit 1 unit, get 2 battle droid tokens whenever it hits the field. So say you turn 1 Wartime Trade Official, turn 2 exploit it into Kraken. You now have a 2/5 Kraken and 3 1/1 battle droids on your field. That's 4 units on the field on turn 2, which lets you do some pretty cool stuff heading into the future turns. You have plenty of battle droid tokens for exploit fodder, and you know the vibes. B2 Legionnaires and Patrolling AAT are there for slowing down your opponent on the ground whenever they're playing aggro decks, specifically Sabine, Asajj Ventress, Princess Leia, Anakin, a bunch of decks that are like play units, smack base, go fast, go hard. Obviously, Sentinel does have a weakness to Saboteur, and there actually is a good bit of extra Saboteur support with set 3. But Legionnaires, Patrolling AAT, it's a 5/4 and a 4/5 respectively. And also the Legionnaires have Overwhelm as well. So whenever they can't get quite over your Legionnaire and they're playing out some smaller units to, like if they're flooding the board with, say, like a Wat Tambor style, flood the board, a bunch of cheap units go bing, 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 bing. B2 Legionnaires can not only deal with their units, but swing over with Overwhelm to help you get that chip damage to, help you close the game in the later stages of the match. Patrolling AAT is just a solid 4/5 Sentinel that you can play on turn 2. Nothing extremely special about it, but it's a very nice card. Turn 3 is when the deck slows down a little bit, at least in the current iteration. I have more play lines with the newest iteration, which again we'll get to at the end of the video. But for example, turn 3 you have 4 resources. You can exploit out Kalani as a 6 cost, so you sack a unit and then pay 4 for Kalani. You can't quite get to Dooku, Invisible Hand, Malevolence, or Invasion of Christophsis here. If you have the playline where you Wartime into Kraken, and then going into turn 3 with Initiative, you have Kraken plus 3 droids. At that point, you can Malevolence and then play a 3 cost. Or like say you could Battle Droid Escort into a Malevolence and have Malevolence on the board as early as turn 3. But you're exploiting away everything on your board, and come that early in the game, if you put all your eggs in one basket, especially against yellow, if you're not careful, a waylay will definitely halt you in your tracks, and you'll be just thinking, why did I just do that? Why is this card in the game? This card sucks. Happened to me once or twice on my road to 4-0. Waylay is pretty annoying. But, there is some niche plays that don't pop up a whole lot. The percentage chance of them happening aren't very good. If you have Initiative, Subjugating Starfighter is great. It's a 3/3 that gives you a Battle Droid token. And it has Ambush if they have like a smaller space unit in space that you want to take care of super fast. That's good because you're still left with the body that you can exploit later. Battle Droid Escort and Reprocess, those are some cards that I'm just not 100% on in the deck right now. 3 cost cards in Dooku specifically are pretty you know what I mean? Reprocess is really cool as a mid-game way to get a bunch of droid tokens in play to help exploit out your bigger cards. But Battle Droid Escort, if you're not getting it out turn 1, turn 2, it doesn't feel very good. It's a 3 cost 1/1 that will eventually get you 3 total units. When played and when defeated, you get a Battle Droid token, but I don't think it fits in Dooku super great. I might end up subbing it out for something else. I don't know. 3 costs just don't feel very good in Dooku. Reprocess, though, it's good to refill the droid engine to help you exploit out some other cards. Obviously, Overwhelming Barrage. This card is still the best card in the entire game. You have to run 3. This card helped me win a good amount of games. It's amazing. Then we also have our high end. So we'll head into this now. So turn 5 and above, when you have, well, I guess turn 4 and above, when you have 5+ resources, Dooku can come out as early as turn 4 with an exploit. These are your big cards. Turn 5, when you have 6 resources, you can exploit out the Invisible Hand. You get 4 Battle Droid tokens, and its on attack is insane. You exhaust your Separatist units, and you deal a damage to the defending player's base for each exhausted unit this way. You want to swing with hand and then exhaust all your battle droids, because if you attack the base, they're only going to do 1 damage regardless, unless you have Kraken on the field and you swing into proc the Kraken on attack to make them 2/2s instead of 1/1s. But, it's not super reliable. Invisible Hand is also a gateway into playing out Malevolence as well, because you get 4 Battle Droid tokens, and on your next turn, you can exploit them all, pay 1, and drop the big bad Malevolence. Malevolence is a really good mid to late game bomb, because it helps you stabilize against the more aggressive decks and the mid-rangey decks that aren't really trading with your units, and they're more so going in on your base. Restore 2, and when it hits the board, you give an enemy unit -4, -0 for the phase, and it can't attack. So super good way to swing the tempo in your favor. Swinging for 7 and healing you 2. That's a total of 9-point swing in bases. You're usually always going for bases with Malevolence, unless there's a big space threat that you just have to deal with, and you don't think you can race them, of course. Invasion of Christophsis. This card I didn't play a single time. Exploit 4. Choose an opponent, defeat each unit that player controls. This card is good in that specific situation where it's good. I mean, Exploit 4, you're playing this card for 7, and you're sacking 4, hopefully just tokens. With Dooku ability, you're sacking 5, and you're playing it for 5 resources. So if an aggro deck is going extremely wide on you, or if a mid-range deck just has a bigger board state than you, this is a one-sided super laser blast, but the amount you have to sacrifice in order to get there, I don't really know exactly how I feel about the Invasion of Christophsis. I might leave 1 in the deck going forward, but I noticed that by the time I was hitting those 7-8 resource turns, the turn where I end up flipping Dooku and having Malevolence, Invisible Hand, stuff like that on the field, the game was already decided. And if I wasn't winning, I was losing. And if I wasn't losing, I was winning. Invasion of Christophsis, it's definitely a blowout card, but I haven't found it extremely useful quite yet. So a little bit more about the leader himself. He is a 7 resource 5/9. So whenever he deploys, it's going to help you close out games if you're in a winning position, or it'll help you stabilize as well. Dooku into an Overwhelming Barrage to spread out 7 damage is insane, and then you have a 7/11 on board. He has Overwhelm, so you can swing over some of your opponent's bigger guys, take care of them, and push more chip damage onto the base. And also, Count Dooku's on attack is the next Separatist card you play this phase gains Exploit 3. If your card already had Exploit, just like on his leader side, the Exploit is additive. So if you have, say, Invasion of Christophsis is Exploit 4, it's now Exploit 7, meaning if you sacrifice 7 Battle Droid units, you could play it for 1 cost. Obviously, this is not happening very often, but the ability to have Exploit 3 on any of your Separatist units that don't have Exploit regardless, sacking 3 Battle Droid tokens to play out a Kalani for free with no resources is a great way to help build a board state after an incredible flip turn from Count Dooku. He has a very strong flip turn. You can utilize Exploit and drop a bunch of stuff. It's fantastic. But at the same token, by the time I get to Count Dooku's flip turn, 9 times out of 10, I haven't needed him. Now, he has been important, of course, and your leader is always important to deploy, but this deck plays in a way where I don't really have to deploy him to know that, like, the game is mine, but he does help close it. You should never keep him in the leader thing. And when you hit 7, deploy him. Like, obviously, that's the same with every leader. But yeah, he's not extremely helpful, but he is very, very strong. All right, so a little bit of a recap from my 4-0 weekly. It was a 9-player event at my LGS, and it was 4 rounds. I won every round. There was a lot of red. I'm going to go over each round and then let you know how it went, how I was feeling, the amount of damage I ended up on my base at the end of it, and then I'll let you know some of my favorite cards in the deck and cards that I wouldn't mind getting rid of moving forward. Also, side note before we continue, the deck list did not have a sideboard because it was a best of 1 event. I think all my weeklies at this point and moving forward, as of right now, we're going to be best of 1. I am going to have a sideboard for you at the end of the video with my updated deck list. So stay tuned for that if you're doing best of 3s and you want a little bit of sideboard knowledge. Okay, stick with me. So round 1, I played against Leia Red. Basically more or less a race to see who could kill who first. My opening hand was really great. I droid deployment turn 1. Turn 2, I exploited up the Legionnaires. It bought me a lot of time to get my game plan running, and after I had Invisible Hand hit the board, it was GG. It was a race, and I did get pretty close. At the end of the game, I had 25 damage on my board, but with the final swing with Invisible Hand plus his on attack, tapping down a bunch of battle droids, I had a total of like 33, 34 damage. Little overkill, but you know your boy had to do it to him. Something slight. Round 2 was Anakin Red. It was another insanely good opening hand for me. I Patrolling V-Winged, drew a card, turn 2 Kraken. Anakin really didn't activate his ability a whole lot in that match, if I remember correctly. I had him at like 4 damage, and I was doing a lot of like just unit control this game because I didn't want him to use his ability to take his life down, because I didn't want him to flip and swing at me for like 8 out of nowhere. Also, it's Anakin Red, and I had some insight into the deck list. I know Anakin Red is running twice the Pride and Bravado, so Anakin can win games out of nowhere if you're not careful, especially if they have enough resources. But limiting the units on his board limited his activation of his ability. Obviously, he could have activated it and just like pinged his own base for damage over like all the turns, but I don't think he wanted to, because I'm a mid-range deck at the end of the day. I'm not really control. It's more mid-range, so it's fair that he didn't do it a whole lot. But I hit Hand, I hit Malevolence. They're on the board together. Smooth game. I think I took 15 damage that game. But round 3 was the most intense round. It was Wat Tambor Red. It was the most intense game and the most fun game of the entire night. He had, it was basically like a swarm type of deck. I believe he said he had 15 different like 1 to 2 cost trooper units, and they all had really good like win defeated abilities to make the other troopers stronger as they were dying off like 1 by 1. But you know, it's a bit of a learning curve thing at the end of the day. There was 2 or 3 different times where he could have activated his leader ability to maybe help swing the game into his favor, and he probably could have closed it out on me. But he was just genuinely forgetting. Ow. But yeah, he was genuinely forgetting to activate it. Honestly, I was too, just because, you know, new heroes, new leaders, new learning curve, right? And trying to remember what everything does, learning the timings of everything. But he maintained a wide board the entire time and just rarely traded into my units and going for base damage over anything else. That did allow me to exploit out a bunch of bigger units, especially Malevolence. When Malevolence helped me stabilize. Final turn of the game, I had initiative with Malevolence on board. I played Overwhelming Barrage to spread 9 damage across his board and kill everything. It's still the best card in the game by far. I'm pretty sure I won with 1 or 2 life left on my base. Malevolence healed me 6 or 8 total, because I had to kill off his units in space with Malevolence a couple times because I was on the brink of death. But yeah, super fun game. Shout out Nick. Shout out Game Crave in general. They say like community is a big part of the game, and that's extremely true. Honestly, I didn't upload a whole lot because the community aspect of the game was very much so fizzled out for me in set 2, because not only was the set not super exciting, but the people just weren't excited to play. There was just a lot of complaining about the set that also, you know, it's not a fun time to play the game when everyone says, oh, this game sucks, this card sucks, blah, blah, blah. But, you know, with set 3, that's taking a 180 and everyone's loving the game again. Loving the set, loving the cards, loving the theme. It's all good times. If you guys are in the East Texas area, I'm going to do a little bit of doxing on myself. Look up Game Crave. They have 2 different locations, one in Tyler, Texas, one in Athens, Texas. I've been playing at both locations ever since set 3 dropped. That's been my store ever since the game released, all honesty, back in March. But the crew there is amazing. They do a great job. The people there are great to hang out with. Good games all around, good vibes, good community. So please, if you're in East Texas, look up Game Crave, get some games in, go buy stuff too. Why not? Go buy some stuff. They always got cool stuff. I got my mat. I got all this Star Wars stuff comes from them. Star Wars, you know the vibes. Amazing staff at Game Crave across both locations. Shout out to people as well. Always fun times, always good games. Round 4, let's get into that. Sorry for the detour. Round 4, we had Django Tarkentown. So it was the final round. I was 3-0, and it started up straight up annoying. Constantly pinging into my droids, and if he couldn't kill off a unit with the ping, he would just exhaust it and make them useless for the turn. He definitely went out of his way trading out all of my units to prevent me from exploiting, which obviously it's a good game plan. And, you know, he ended up deploying Django with a couple upgrades. I flipped and overwhelming barraged him away with Dooku. And then afterwards, I was finally able to play out all my capital ships, swung the game into my favor. And honestly, as soon as Dooku hit the table, it was pretty much like a stalemate. He wasn't doing a whole lot of damage to me. He was just like making it to where I couldn't exploit. He just delayed the inevitable. I think I finished with 15 damage in total on my base. But yeah, it was a fun game. That was it was annoying at first, but I got it. And that's how I went 4-0. Lot of red. But that's how I went 4-0 with Dooku. Here are some of my MVPs. I'm actually going to do a top 5 list of my favorite cards in the current list. And then I'll also talk about some stinkers. So this is in no particular order. Probably, actually, it might be in an order of like resource order. So Reprocess was really fun to play. At the low end, I was paying 3 resources for 3 tokens. I think once or twice I played it 3 resources for 4 tokens. Only 3 resources. This card is a great token generator in a pinch, like I was mentioning before. If you don't have a lot of tokens and you need your tokens to exploit out some of your bigger cards, it's a great way to get re-upped on your little army to slowly ping off and get your big stuff out. Devastating Gunship. Amazing turn 2 play to ruin the opponent's turn 1 tempo, ruin their availability to do, now there are 2 of them. It's just insanely good. Also helps to finish off an annoying unit that's been trading into your droids, slowly pinging them off to, you know, stop you from exploiting, because that's the whole point of your deck. So like say you have a 5/4 that's killed a couple of your units. Boom, Devastating Gunship just pings it, takes it out. Very good card. B2 Legionnaires, speaking of a 5/4, B2 Legionnaires was amazing for both offense and defense. 5/4 body, Sentinel, and Overwhelm. Helped me get on all the good chip damage here and there over the smaller units. So you really can't talk a whole much more about how important that is. That little extra chip damage, very important. Lastly, we have Invisible Hand and Malevolence. This 1-2 combo is a devastating ender for the game. Even if you only play out one or the other, both are really good space closers. And if your opponent does not have an answer to them, you can basically call it GG's at that point. It's super good. Super good cards. That's the main reason I'm playing Dooku Blue. Malevolence. Malevolence is the main reason. Devastating Gunship is another really good reason why. They're just so good. Now the stinker list, cards that I didn't play a whole lot of or just didn't feel the value of. The number 1 culprit is going to be Battle Droid Escort. In my opening hand, I always just resourced the card. Later in the game, I just found no purpose. The deck, honestly, just doesn't have much need for 3 drops. If it was a 2 resource card, it would be good. Right now, it's just very awkward. Also, the Count Dooku unit. I never played it, but I also never really had a reason to play it. By that time in the game, I was always in a commanding position, and they had no threats that really required a Count Dooku answer from, because I was usually just in a position to win, and I felt pretty good. But on your 5 resource turn, if you're not just hard casting Legionnaires, Kraken, AAT, or your devastating gunship, it's a really good target to exploit out to, you know, blow something up if need be. Now for the moment we have all been waiting for, the new and improved Dooku exploit list. Drumroll please. Anybody? Da, 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 da. I'm going to believe y'all are doing that from home. Let's get it. And here we are. New and improved list. We have a sideboard over yonder. That way into the green light. Yeah, but we do have a sideboard. Sideboard, I don't really have a whole lot of experience with as of right now. Shout out to a bunch of the guys in the Star Wars Unlimited Discord that have been working alongside me and tweaking the deck as we've been going forward. Big thanks to a bunch of you guys over there. Mainly Strategic Gamer, Axiom, Quintal, just to name a few of you guys over there. You guys rock. If you guys are in the Star Wars Unlimited Discord, you can always keep up with the deck changes in the Dooku Blue thread and like the deck building conversation section. If you're not part of the Star Wars Unlimited Discord, I will have a link for you guys in the description below. Hop in, get some ideas, and talk to a bunch of really cool people. So the changes that have been made, we took out one of the invasion of Christophsis. We took out one of the reprocess, and we also took the battle droid escort out of the list completely. With that, we added in a removal package of 2 takedowns and 3 Fell the Dragons. The main purpose for Takedown and Fell the Dragon is to better deal with, now there are 2 of them plays, if we head into turn 2 without controlling the initiative. If we are controlling the initiative heading into turn 2, we usually can deal with it pretty easily. Devastating Gunship is a standout card in that situation specifically. But, you know, if we can't prevent them from doing the now there are 2 of them play, Fell the Dragon and Takedown covers our bases in terms of what they can play out, because we can then just remove it on turn 3 on our 4 resource turn, which is typically the weaker turn for Dooku anyway. Now in our sideboard, we have 2 Confiscate, a 3rd Takedown. We have 2 Traitorous, 2 Rivals Fall, and 3 Choose Sides. And we've been going back and forth about different cards that can be in the sideboard, and kind of have some good ideas as to why they're all in there as of right now. Confiscate, defeating an upgrade. The main target, Darksaber. Sabine is probably going to be extremely popular going forward now that Boba has been suspended. He's not banned, everybody. He's suspended. I'm tired of seeing all the clickbait. He's not banned, everybody. Just suspended, but Darksaber on Sabine is still a massive threat. Confiscate is in the sideboard for those matchups specifically. If you can't stop the Sabine otherwise with, you know, a big Sentinel in their way like AAT or Legionnaires, which are usually the best turn 2 plays heading into a aggro matchup anyway. The 3rd Takedown, just in case we need a little bit of extra oomph and removal if we're going up against another mid-range deck that we might just not be able to keep up with. 2 Traitorous is also a really fun card to play whenever you are focusing heavily on one arena or the other, or they just have like a really big space threat that you can't handle. An A-Wing with a bunch of experience counters on it. And then even once you steal a unit with Traitorous and it gets really weak to the point where it's not going to last another attack or trade or anything like that, you know, you can trade it into your opponent's units, or you can sack it away with Count Dooku's exploit, which is pretty funny. It's a good idea to steal people's stuff and then just sack it, you know, like what you're doing in Emperor Palpatine lists already. We also have 2 Rivals Fall. Again, just more great removal. Defeat a unit straight up, just takes out leaders. Straight up. It's really good. And then 3 Choose Sides. This is mainly in here for the hard control matchups. We have 3 of them in the sideboard. It's a 7 cost. You choose one of your units, one of their units, and you swap places. So in the ideal world, you'll take your battle droid token and you will give that to them. And in exchange, you will take a Luke Skywalker or a Darth Vader, a Snoke, something like that. You probably wouldn't take a Snoke for a battle droid token because your battle droid token was dead against the Snoke, but you get my drift. Really cool card, especially in that specific scenario. Obviously, I haven't messed with any of the cards in the sideboard yet. And also the removal package for me is new, and I'm going to start messing around with that and testing that. But this is the new and improved Dooku exploit list. Let me know down in the comment section what you think of the deck. Have you played Dooku Blue? Do you want to try Dooku Blue? And are you guys excited for Set 3 Star Wars and the return of the Make an Opening channel? I'm excited, and I am going to be cranking out some videos for you guys. I don't know exactly how often, but I do know that I'm going to make some good quality videos like I usually do. And I'm going to do some more stuff that I don't ever do, and I don't see other Star Wars Unlimited content creators do anyway. Maybe like some, like vlogs of me going to weeklies, doing like post-game updates after each round, something like that. And just like try and reach out to other content creators and get some stuff set up with them. So who knows? Anyway, it's been your boy James with Make an Opening. See you later. Bye.